Hey everyone, I decided to do another video. This is going to be on last week's deck, which was Golgari deck. This was the second place deck. It lost to John, who was playing a pretty awesome deck with it just beat my face in with a whole team of Sarah Angels. So it did lose to that, but other than that, this deck was very solid. It's an attrition based deck, which is kind of fun to play. A lot of removal, just a lot of discard, a lot of stuff that makes your opponents kind of angry to play against you, which is kind of fun to do. And then just kind of beats your face in late game after it removes everything that you have going for you. The deck it plays a fair amount of 2-drops, a fair amount of 3-drops, 4-drops, 5-drops. So this deck was very balanced. It basically should have had a play every single turn, and each one of its plays was better than the last. And that's just kind of what you want to do in an attrition-based deck, because you're not trying to beat them quick, and you're not trying to delay. You're just basically trying to get rid of every one of the cards in their hand so that you have stuff on the board and they have no cards in their hands, which is kind of a fun way to play this style of Magic. So for my 2-drops, I had one Shaman, who isn't the best card. He kind of fixes you early. He's a 3/1, which isn't bad, but he's really not my favorite card. But, 3/1 is kind of, it can be very good sometimes. The Burglar Rats I really like, and I had 3 of them in this. So the Burglar Rats, when they come in, they make your opponent discard, and they're just 1/1s. So in an attrition deck, that's very good because you can make them discard mana, so it makes it harder for them to play their late threats, which allows you time to assemble some of your larger creatures. It can also get rid of some of their high casting cards, and you're happy with that because your high casting cards are pretty solid and tend to be 2-for-1s. For 3 mana, I had just the 1 Death Touch guy, 2/2 Death Touch. That's good. Can't really complain with that. I had 2 Ceratoks. They're very powerful. I had 1 Lurcher. The Lurcher, he comes in with a +1/+1 counter for each creature card in your graveyard. And you don't mind trading cards. Like you're playing the Burglar Rats early just to make them discard, but you don't mind trading them off or blocking with them just to make cards like that more powerful. Like you want to trade a lot in this deck, even though you play so much removal, simply because the Undergrowth gets pretty powerful later on. And I first picked this guy, the Beast Whisperer. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you draw a card. That's a pretty bomb rare in green. Kind of hard to get better than that card, to be honest. It just gives you such a great card advantage that you're going to be drawing a lot of removal and a lot of creatures. And in the attrition deck, you do want to draw cards if you can. I had 2 Foragers. They gain you life for Undergrowth, but I just use them mostly because they're 4/4s for 5. And having big creatures to finish your opponent off is always good. And I played one of the Indrix. He's a 4/4 that fights a creature when he comes in. He's just really a 2-for-1 card. One of the better cards in green. He might be one of the best cards in green. For removal, I had a ton of it. I had 2 Dead Weights, which is 1 mana removal, which you kind of need, especially against all the quick decks. It's almost impossible for that card to be dead weight in your hand. So it's, I would play as many as I could of those cards. Well, up to 4, I guess. But that card's very good. 2 Severed Strands. Just solid removal, get rid of anything. Very good with cards like Burglar Rats that already get value when they come in. So it's just cheap removal that can get rid of anything, which is nice to have in this format. I had 1 Locket, off color, but still in black. And I had 1 Crushing Canopy, which destroying the enchantments was kind of important. Actually, you know what? This was a sideboard card. I had, I had another pack favor, which is, I have 2 of them in this deck, which is plus basically Giant Growth that has Convoke. I put this in against John because his enchantment that makes all the Sarah's Angels. I had one of these things, main board again. Again, having the 2/2 with Convoke, it's fine. And then being able to destroy an artifact and enchantment as well. It gives more options to your main board, which is kind of nice. Because there are cards like that enchantment that John won off of. He actually won 3 games off that thing, I believe. You know, like, that is just going to beat you. And having some sort of removal against it is nice. As long as he doesn't follow it up with make 3 guys. Price of Fame, just, it has Surveil and it destroys a creature. And it's 4 mana instant. So it's one of the better removal in the set. Especially when you compare it to Deadly Visit, which does basically the same thing. Only costs 1 more, and it's a sorcery. But, you know, both of them are good. It's just this one's obviously better. And then I had 1 Connive Concoct. It gained control, so a mind control for a creature, power 2 or less. There's so many of them in this set that card is solid. And then Concoct allows you to surveil and then put a creature into the battlefield, and I have plenty of them. Even like some of the bigger ones is really nice to have. For gates, I didn't have too many. 2 off color gates. That was really just for the Connive and Concoct. I really wasn't playing any blue, but I figured why not? You know, that card is, the Concoct is good enough to at least play the gates. Maybe a bad decision, but I don't know. Maybe, actually, you know what? Looking back, it probably was the wrong decision because you don't want cards that come into play tapped if you can avoid it. And when you really the only value that you have is that you might be able to play Concoct. And playing 2 lands that come into play tapped to do that is the wrong choice to do. You want to be at least be able to cast your spells or be able to cast multiple spells in 1 turn. And while it's not the biggest punishment to have to wait 1 turn, sometimes it can be the difference between losing a game and not. Like even later on when you have a really good card, like you might have a card that's just going to end the game if you're able to cast it this turn and all you need is a mana. And then you draw the mana, but it comes into play tapped. So you can't cast it this turn and then you die. And that's it. You know, that, like things like that really make a difference, and you only have to lose to it once and actually understand that you've lost to it because of that before you start to rethink maybe coming to play tap mana wasn't the best choice. And looking back at this, I can say without a doubt that that was probably the wrong choice, especially when I have cards in my sideboard that are actually pretty solid and would have made good additions. Even this is a tutor that, it's not the most reliable tutor. It can still get dead weight pretty much every time. So it's the 3 mana, -2/-2, which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I had 1 gate in my colors and an Overground Tomb. Not a gate, but who cares? It's actually better than the gates because when you do play it, sometimes it can come into play untapped. And like I said before, sometimes that is the difference between winning and losing a game. So looking at the deck, it's very good. I thought that it probably should have won last week. But, you know, that's the breaks, you know, that's magic. Sometimes you have a great deck and you think, oh, there's no way I can lose. And then you play against somebody that just beat your face in with a bunch of angels. And there's nothing you can do to stop it. And, you know, you draw your canopy the turn after they cast 3 angels and you just lose. So that's kind of half the fun, to be honest. And it's a lot of fun when you get to play that deck and do that to somebody else. Sideboard that I took out, I don't think there was really much. Another one of these, which I didn't really need. Monument, which is good if you're playing multicolors. I didn't play enough of them. Defender Reach, meh, who cares? And I think most of the other stuff was off color. I didn't really have anything good. Maybe the bats, but probably not worth it. No, this deck was... I had a couple cards that were good sideboard, but I mean, I kind of built this deck to be the attrition deck, and it was fun, and I enjoyed playing it. Golgari so far has been the only color I've lost with, or color combination that I've lost with, but I'm not gonna spit on Golgari because this deck was very good. It was very powerful, and it was annoying as hell to play against. You know, so that's always that's fun in its own. So hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll make another one next week.